Welcome to the debate. Today, we're wrestling with one of the biggest paradoxes in modern higher education, digital technology. It's sold to us as this amazing catalyst for personalized learning, but at the same time, it's probably the greatest source of distraction we've ever faced.
That tension is absolutely critical. I mean, the core question we really have to get at is this. Does all this technology, particularly AI tools and just being constantly connected, does it actually enhance learning? Or is the price of all that convenience, the slow erosion of our ability to just sit down and concentrate?
And my stance on this is pretty clear. I'm taking the position that the data shows clear, measurable gains in academic efficiency and student achievement. The big study by Ward and his colleagues provides really strong evidence that these AI tools are actually helping students succeed.
And I'm looking at this through a very different lens. While I see those efficiency gains you're talking about, I think they might be masking a much deeper problem, a crisis in our cognitive capacity. I'm focused on the consequences of, chronic digital distraction, which the data from Perez Juarez and their team at the University of Valladolid shows is a huge issue.
Okay, so let's start there. Let's begin by establishing the case for enhancement because the findings from the Ward study are, frankly, compelling. A substantial 83% of students they surveyed reported some level of academic improvement since they started using AI tools. And almost half, 48%, reported significant improvement. This isn't just, a good feeling. It's a real shift.
See, I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that the reported efficiency truly translates to robust long-term intellectual growth. And let me tell you why. The data suggests there's a crisis in metacognition. The Valladolid team, they watched students in lab classes where they had total autonomy. And they found that a staggering 69.2% of them believed they could have made better use of their time. That's a huge internal conflict. Students feel ineffective regardless of what their GPA says.
That's a critical insight, I'll give you that. But I would challenge the causality. The technology itself is enabling efficiency, which is a key metric for success in what people are calling Education 4.0. Ward's analysis specifically found a significant reduction in study hours alongside an increase in GPA. This suggests AI is just automating the grunt work, the things that took up time but didn't add to deep learning.
But on top of that, students rate their comfort with AI very highly, about a 4.3 out of 5, and its impact on their routines even higher. That shows successful, positive adoption.
But that confidence in their routine, it obscures the cognitive cost. We have to consider the basic principle here, the cognitive bottleneck theory. Perez Juarez and the team really emphasize that divided attention, what we all try to do, multitasking. It just reduces long-term retention, even if you manage to pass the test tomorrow. If students are constantly context-switching, driven by pings and notifications, we're trading deep understanding for superficial efficiency.
Which brings us squarely to the distraction dilemma. How do we weigh this off-task digital activity against the undeniable pedagogical potential of these tools? Is the problem the platform, or is it the student's discipline?
Oh, the data clearly suggests the platform is a huge part of the problem because of how seductive it is. The figures from the Valladolid study on off-task activity are just overwhelming. The biggest digital distractors, social networks and messaging apps. Each of them was a problem for over 40% of students. These platforms are designed for fragmented engagement. And then you add that over half the students found the actual sounds from their devices distracting. Concentration isn't just compromised, it's being shattered.
I would challenge that framing, though. I see social media as a manageable habit challenge, not some inherent flaw in technology's pedagogical potential. We have to separate the noise from the signal here. If we look at how students are using tech for directed educational purposes, the picture changes. The Ward study showed AI tutoring systems are the most popular tool, used by 31%, followed closely by study planning apps. So students aren't just scrolling, they're actively using tech to structure and support their learning.
But that structure doesn't really compensate for a loss of substance when critical thinking is being bypassed. And that moves us to the heart of the debate, right?
efficiency versus intellectual cost. You're highlighting how AI automates things like note-taking and summarizing, and you're claiming this frees up time for higher-order thinking.
Absolutely. That's precisely how AI enhances academic outcomes. It lets students move beyond those surface-level tasks and focus their cognitive energy on analysis and synthesis. It's a great equalizer.
But that argument for optimization risks what some call cognitive disengagement. I mean, this efficiency encourages intellectual shortcuts. And we see this danger acknowledged even in the study you're citing. Ward's team felt the need to explicitly caution against an over-reliance on AI and stress that students still need good study habits. That caution is there for a reason.
Of course.
And we even have evidence for which shortcuts are the most damaging. The Vieriu team found that off-task web browsing, which is different from just passively scrolling social media, was the only distractor that was significantly correlated with students' poor self-perceived performance. It had a Pearson correlation coefficient of 0.878.
And that statistic is incredibly important. For our listeners, a high correlation like that means that as unstructured web browsing goes up, the student's feeling of wasting time goes up almost in lockstep. It suggests the real villain isn't a targeted AI tool, but that aimless, unfocused digital wandering.
Precisely. Technology makes that specific kind of unfocused distraction easy, and it's far more corrosive to deep work than just getting a notification. The endless availability of content provides an easy out. It encourages students to skim, to switch, and to ultimately disengage from the hard work of real concentration.
Which brings us to the issue of institutional preparedness. This problem of over-reliance and distraction management, it highlights a systemic issue. Students are adopting these things way faster than universities can keep up.
Exactly. That lag is real. This rapid adoption creates what you could call unguided workflows, or a kind of shadow pedagogy, where students are teaching themselves how to use these advanced tools without any official guidance.
And that shadow pedagogy is dangerous without intervention. Institutional preparedness. I mean, the university's ability to guide this stuff is just lagging behind. Ward and his colleagues pointed to limited faculty support and difficulties integrating AI with traditional teaching methods as major barriers. If professors aren't equipped to manage these tools, we're just failing our students.
I see the gap, I do, but I view this institutional lag as a positive sign of student agility. Students are showing initiative. They're actively seeking out adaptive learning paths and personalized feedback, all things highlighted in the Ward study's user feedback. The fact that AI use is so high in STEM fields, over 70%, suggests that where the tools fit the need, adoption just thrives. The solution isn't to restrict this, it's to expand it across all disciplines.
But that expansion will only make the critical awareness gap we've already identified even worse. Your position rests so heavily on these positive self-reported outcomes, like the fact that 78% of students regularly use AI in their routines.
And that momentum is real. We have to maintain it. The challenges to academic integrity, and yes, that's a legitimate concern, they need to be addressed through clear policies. We can't just retreat from these massive efficiency benefits because some users might misuse them. Policy is the answer, not technological abstinence.
But your reliance on self-assessment is flawed when we see this huge internal conflict in the data. This is the critical awareness gap I'm talking about. Students report high comfort, a 4.3 out of 5, yet almost 70% of them feel like they're wasting academic time. We have to wrestle with that contradiction.
So why do you think that contradiction exists? Is it the technology's fault, or is it just the age-old problem of procrastination wearing a new digital disguise?
I think the technology makes the old problem hyper-accelerated. The Perez-Juarez study found something really stark. Digital distractions, even though they were 3 times less numerous on the survey list than non-digital ones, were felt to have a comparable overall influence. That just underscores how potent they are. They have this unrecognized ability to just dismantle focus. We can't simply trust a student's self-assessment of their own productivity when the digital overload is actively undermining their ability to self-regulate.
Okay, that is a compelling way to frame the energy cost. However, for me, if students are using AI for tangible gains, a better GPA, less time on tedious work, then the balance of evidence still tilts toward enhancement. We can teach self-regulation and digital hygiene without abandoning the tools that provide such powerful support.
So, to summarize my position, the integration of these AI tools isn't just common, it is demonstrably effective. Ward's work shows proven gains in GPA and efficiency for a majority of students. Now, while cultivating responsible habits and governing academic integrity are essential challenges, the future of effective learning lies in embracing these tools. The challenge is adaptation, not retreat.
And I'll conclude by just highlighting the unresolved tension. Technology offers this incredible convenience, but the data on distraction, especially from the Valladolid team, shows that it risks undermining the very foundation of higher learning, deep, sustained concentration. And until institutions and students really work to reinforce intellectual rigor against that constant pull of the digital world, the cost to our long-term intellectual capacity, well, it may well outweigh the immediate gains in efficiency.
Ultimately, I think what both of these studies underscore is that the real focus for higher education isn't whether technology is present, because it's here to stay, but how we guide students to manage that presence effectively, to ensure sustainable, deep learning practices for the future.